The person that you're seeing in the video right now is the US Ambassador Pete Hoekstra at a conference threatening Canada. Buy our weapons or there won't be any trade deal. But what makes him say that? Think about it for a moment. This is not some hypothetical scenario. This is a US ambassador speaking publicly, telling one of America's closest allies that its economic relationship depends on buying a specific US fighter jet. So the obvious question is this: isn't Canada supposed to be your closest ally? And if Canada decides not to buy US weapons, where exactly is it supposed to go? But before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe, because YouTube is trying to silence me for speaking on topics like these. This story begins with what should have been a routine defense procurement decision turned into a full-blown diplomatic crisis. Canada had already ordered 16 F-35 fighter jets as part of a broader plan to modernize its air force. But Prime Minister Mark Carney is now considering hitting pause. His reasoning is straightforward. He believes Canada may have a better option, one that offers more economic value, more control, and more long-term security. Washington's response was not negotiation. It was an ultimatum. At the Munich Security Conference, US Ambassador Pete Hoekstra made the message clear. If Canada does not proceed with the F-35, it should not expect a trade deal with the United States. This was not private diplomacy. It was said publicly. Many Canadians have described it as diplomatic blackmail, and it's hard to argue otherwise. While Washington was applying pressure, a very different proposal quietly arrived from Northern Europe. Sweden's King and Queen, alongside senior executives from Saab, came to Canada with an alternative: the Gripen E fighter jet. This was not a conventional arms sale. Saab is offering full technology transfer, domestic assembly, and manufacturing inside Canada, and the creation of up to 10,000 high-quality aerospace jobs. Under this model, Canada wouldn't just buy aircraft. It would become an industrial partner, capable of producing, maintaining, and upgrading its own fighters and potentially exporting them to allies. That difference defines this entire debate. With the F-35, Canada is a customer. With the Gripen, Canada becomes a producer. Supporters of the F-35 often focus on marketing and prestige. But the deeper problems only become visible once you look past the brochures. The first issue is mission readiness. In a recent U.S. Senate hearing, Senator Roger Wicker acknowledged that F-35s are frequently grounded and unable to operate at expected levels. Readiness rates remain well below what was promised. This is not foreign criticism. It is an admission from senior U.S. officials. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, maintenance and repair costs have exceeded budgets by more than $6 billion, with delays stretching years beyond original timelines. For a system costing tens of billions, reliability is not optional. The second issue is control. The United States owns the F-35 software and core systems. Canada cannot upgrade, modify, or fully maintain the aircraft without U.S. approval. Every major update, every part, every repair flows through an American-controlled logistics network. That means if Washington delays parts or restricts updates, Canada's entire fleet could be grounded without a single shot fired. This is leverage exercised quietly but decisively. The third issue is flexibility. Washington claims Canada cannot operate two different fighter platforms at the same time. This argument does not hold up. The Royal Canadian Air Force has historically operated multiple aircraft types without issue. The Gripen has flown in NATO exercises and is fully interoperable with alliance systems. So why repeat the claim? Because a single platform fleet locked into U.S. systems is easier to influence. When the debate escalated, retired General Tom Lawson warned against operating two fighter types. What he did not emphasize is that he later spent 6 years as a paid consultant for Lockheed Martin. Many analysts consider that a serious conflict of interest. Even more striking is the reversal of retired Lieutenant General André Deschamps. Once a strong supporter of the F-35, he now argues Canada should cancel the contract. His reasoning is blunt. The U.S. controls everything: software, parts, upgrades. Canada cannot operate the F-35 independently, and that concern becomes sharper when trust is uncertain. A U.S. president like Donald Trump has publicly joked about Canada becoming the 51st state. That makes long-term dependence risky. This isn't theoretical. Look at Denmark. Last year, Danish lawmakers learned that the U.S. had removed parts from Denmark's F-35 fleet and transferred them to Israel without Denmark's consent. Copenhagen couldn't stop it and wasn't informed in advance. That move conflicted with Denmark's foreign policy, but because the U.S. controls the F-35 supply chain, Denmark had no leverage. Danish MP Rasmus Jarlof later said they believed they were buying jets, but discovered they were effectively renting them while the US held the keys. The F-35's logistics system also transmits operational data back to servers in the United States. Analysts call this conditional sovereignty. You own the hardware, but someone else controls whether it works. Sweden's approach is different by design. During the Cold War, Sweden learned that political independence requires technological independence. The Gripen was built so the operating nation controls the source code, upgrades, and sustainment. Under Saab's proposal, Canada would own the software. It would decide when and how to upgrade. No external permissions, no hidden kill switches, no risk of parts being withheld due to political pressure. There's also geography. Canada and Sweden operate in harsh climates with dispersed bases and short runways. The Gripen was designed for that reality. The F-35 was designed for large bases and carriers. Then there's cost. Lockheed Martin advertises the F-35 at roughly $85 million per jet. That is only the purchase price. Canada's Auditor General estimates the lifetime cost of operating 88 F-35s over 30 years could reach $50 billion, with flight hours costing up to $47,000 each. The Gripen E's operating cost is closer to $8,000 per flight hour, based on NATO exercise data. Over decades, that gap becomes enormous. With the F-35, most of the money flows south to U.S. defense contractors. With the Gripen, it stays in Canada, funding factories, engineers, and long-term industrial capacity. The Auditor General has also confirmed Canada would need to spend hundreds of millions redesigning hangars for the F-35, delaying full readiness well into the 2030s, so the question becomes unavoidable. Is Canada buying fighter jets or renting them at extraordinary cost? When Ambassador Hoekstra threatened trade consequences, he wasn't defending shared security. He was defending corporate interests. A truly superior product doesn't need threats to sell itself. Canada now faces a choice: accept pressure and long-term dependence, or accept short-term friction in exchange for autonomy, jobs, and control. Prime Minister Mark Carney says he wants the best option for Canada, not for Washington and not for Lockheed Martin. The money is already approved. The real question isn't affordability, it's courage. Because if a country cannot decide how it defends its own skies, can it truly call itself sovereign? What do you think? I personally read every comment, so I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to help spread this channel because YouTube doesn't like when we criticize bad US policies.